Hey, what's up, Alex? Chris Freeman here. I'm going to answer your question about squats and deadlift with a previous knee injury. Now, I've had a lot of injuries myself to lower extremities, mostly on my right side. And the way I look at training with injuries is you have a specific situation and that you need to address those issues first. So, you never want to look at anything dogmatically like you have to squat, you have to pull X amount of times a week, and you have to do it with a straight bar. You never want to have that kind of thinking when you're talking about a specific situation instead of circumstances like the injuries that you're working around. So, a few things that I would suggest is I always look at my training week or block of training, whether it's 4 or 6 weeks, and I know that there's certain exercises that are going to get me stronger, but I don't have an infinite amount of credit that I can expend in any given exercise. So I look at a squat is X amount of credits out of my account, and then a deadlift is going to be X amount of credits out of my account. And I don't want to dip too far into that and get in the negative. Hopefully that makes sense. So I know that heavy back squats, low bar for me are harder on my body than doing a high bar like Olympic squat or doing single leg work. I know that the way that I'm built to deadlift, so I can get away with doing it more frequently than I can with a heavy squat. Not to say that you'd want to do it every week. So you just have to look at, what exercises are going to help build your body up and where they're going to break them down. What's going to benefit you in the long term. Because if you are grinding away, you may add weight to the bar, over the short term. But if that, puts a lot of wear and tear on your knees and leads to a lot of injuries, and you're going to have to take time off and have setbacks, really you're not going to progress as fast. So just because it works for somebody else doesn't mean it's going to work well for you, Alex. So a few things that I would suggest is limit the amount of times that you go heavy. I do a lot of work now around the 80% range, 70 to 80% range, and doing more reps. And then I don't test my maxes very often. Maybe 2 or 3 times a year, but that's just my personal preference. I find that the more heavier singles I do repeatedly, the more it breaks my body down, and I'm perfectly okay with going lighter, getting more rep work in, and having gradual gains. And something like a Wendler 531 program would be more geared towards that. If you're just doing the straight lifts, West Side for Skinny Bastards is another great program that allow for some variety in the lifts, which I really enjoy. Whether it's adding a box to your squat or just changing the bar to a safety bar instead of a straight bar. Those little changes can really add up and not leading to accumulating trauma from doing the same exercise repeatedly with the same stance and the same grip can really take its toll on you. And what else? So those are a few things. I always include some kind of single leg work in my program. So I'll squat usually just once a week, heavier, and I squat pretty much every day to some capacity, whether it's just getting down on the goblet squat, holding the kettlebell here, prying my knees apart with my elbows. But you don't have to squat heavy; just squat, frequently, so that you're getting in that pattern, provided it's not, irritating your knees. But I wouldn't squat heavy more than once a week. I don't think there's any need for it. Have a lighter squatting day in there. I pull heavy, kind of every other week. I tend to do better on my deadlifts when I don't go heavy that often. Um, I also like the Olympic lift, so the pulling frequency is a little bit higher, so you got to consider that. But single leg work like split squats, static lunges, rear elevated split squats or Bulgarians, step back lunges. I think single leg work is really undervalued for people that have asymmetries because you can work on that weaker side. You're going to expose weaknesses, and you're going to find out where you have restrictions in mobility, stability, and which leg's stronger than the other. And you're gonna work on evening both sides of your body out. So make sure that you're including some kind of single leg work, and then work the hell out of anything you can with your body weight, like a glute ham raise, 45-degree back raises, reverse hypers. Those are all great ways to stimulate your lower body without having to go heavy. And then the last piece I'll talk about is sled dragging and prowler work is great for heavy leg work. So, for example, say you're doing a 4-week cycle and on the first week you do a safety squat bar, you work up to a heavy set of 3 to 5. The second week, do some kind of a pull, whether it's a trap bar deadlift or maybe it's pulling from a deficit or a rack pull. and you do another heavy set of 3 to 5. The third week, you could do another squatting variation where you can't go as heavy. Maybe it's a front squat or something like that, or squat to a box. For me, is a hard variation to squat because I suck at them. And then on the fourth week, instead of doing another squat or pull, you could do a heavy prowler push, and you can max out the prowler, for the heaviest you can go for 20 yards. Maybe take you about 8 to 10 trips to work up to that. Or you can do the same thing with backward sled drags. So those are really effective ways to work your legs without beating yourself up. So just remember that thing I said about the credits or the bank account. You only have so many withdrawals, and certain exercises are gonna take away more than others, and certain exercises are gonna give back and build up a lot more than others. So just find what works for you, man, and keep me posted. See you, Alex.